Committed gay and lesbian couples deserve the same rights. I have called for Congress to repeal the so-called Defense of Marriage Act.
We have a president who says that he is committed to seeing that the Defense of Marriage Act is repealed. It's time for us to stand up to stop this legalized discrimination. This is an American story, and that is a story that can be used to educate anyone in this country about what really happens when we don't have full equality.
Charlene Strong is here. She lost her wife, Kate Fleming.
Everyone has the ability to be that activist. I remember standing out on the porch looking around and talking to her on the phone. She had called me and I was like, "Did you look outside? I've never seen anything like this, Kate." I said, "It's really raining quite hard." Very shortly after that, I got a call back and she said, "There's water coming in down the stairs." And she said, "I'm going to go down and start getting stuff out of the basement." I said, "Well, be very careful." I started running home and Kate called me and she said, "I need you to hurry. Something has fallen in front of the door of the studio and I can't get out." And I said, "Okay, I'll be right there." And I started running and I was banging on the windows of cars asking people to help me. And people were ignoring me completely. And I then realized that I could probably run faster than these cars were moving. But it was just a torrent of water everywhere. I was running. I could just see the waters were like, it was like causing fins up onto the sidewalk of water. And I was just hauling in my dress clothes down the hill. And she called me one more time and says, "Where are you? It's really starting to fill up." And I said, "I'm 4 houses away," and I'm screaming at this point, and I'm running faster than I've ever run in my life. And I get to the house, and I can't fathom what's happening because there's water everywhere that I can possibly see. And I open the front door, and I hear her in the basement, but I also hear this powerful water running. And I hear her saying, "Okay, stay calm. I need you to stay calm." And I got into the basement, and the water was to my waist, and I could hear her through the door at this point now starting to talk to 911, and she's telling me to be calm, and she's on the phone with 911 operator. And I can hear her again and again repeating the address and the person not quite getting it. And I'm screaming like crazy trying to figure out how to get her out, and I start removing the pins on the doors, and I'm able to remove 2, and then I reach underwater and can't get the 3rd one. And pretty soon the water's over my head, and I'm completely underwater. So I have to push things out of the way and swim out. And I realize that she's now probably underwater also. So I run upstairs, and her studio was just below our bedroom. And I knew there was a heater vent that connected somehow to the heater. And I started stomping on it, trying to get it broken open. So maybe if I can find her, reach in, I could at least pull her head up. And then the firefighters came.
Firefighters say the woman became trapped in the basement of her home in Seattle's Madison Valley neighborhood.
It was a perfect storm, say engineers. An extremely unusual chain of unfortunate
Floodwaters
events.
tore through her foundation wall and trapped
Floodwater
Kate.
started pouring down the stairs.
Water rushing into the home of
trapping her inside the studio where she recorded audiobooks
But
for a
rising
living.
water made it impossible to open the door. Firefighters arrived moments later. Even they could not open that basement door. Instead, they fired up a chainsaw on the main floor.
I don't know what happened that night. I just know that it was a horror story of just anything that you can never imagine. And the firefighters had to use a chainsaw to cut her out of the basement. They basically cut a hole in our bedroom floor. And I asked if I could go in the ambulance, and they said no. And so my brother drove me with my mother, and we followed the ambulance to Harborview. And that's where I went running through the hospital trying to find the emergency room. And when I got to the emergency room, there was a woman standing there, and she said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Kate's partner." And she said, "Well, we have to get someone on the phone who's next of kin." And I was infuriated at this point. I was freaking out because who was this person to tell me I couldn't be with Kate after what I had just gone through?
Please, if we could have the panel for the bill come up: Charlene Strong, Beth Reed, Barbara Steele, and Lynn Grotsky.
Hello, my name is Charlene Strong, and I brought a picture along of my partner, Catherine Fleming, today. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I live in Seattle. I lived in Seattle with my partner, Catherine Fleming. I am an interior designer. I manage a dental practice. My partner was an audiobook narrator and producer of Cedar House Audio. On December 14th, Catherine Fleming died in our basement in a flood. After attempts by myself to retrieve Kate from her audiobook studio in our basement and almost drowning myself, I then followed the ambulance to Harborview Medical Center. When I arrived at Harborview Medical Center, I was denied access to Catherine to be by her side as she lay dying. A family member had to be called in Alexandria, Virginia, to allow me to be in that room with her. As the minutes ticked by, I kept wondering, what if she dies without me holding her hand? What if she dies without knowing that I told her I loved her or took off her wedding ring? After I was allowed access, I was treated like any other married person by the medical staff at Harborview, and for that I will always be grateful. I was able to tell Kate how beautiful she was and how dearly I loved her as she lay dying. I was able to take her wedding ring off and tell her that I would take good care of it. And then it became the time to make my funeral arrangements for my partner. When I got there, the funeral director did not even shake my hand. He didn't offer me any condolences. He looked directly at Mrs. Fleming, Kate's mother, and directed all of his questions. When I asked him to direct his questions to me that I would be making all funeral arrangements, he wouldn't even look at me. He slid the cremation request over to Mrs. Fleming. After suffering one of the greatest losses of my life and the love of my life, of one of the most beautiful people that I ever had the chance to be with for 10 years, I suffered the indignities of not being able to make those decisions. This bill is exactly what I experienced in real life a month and a half ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please.
God bless you, Charlene, for coming today and making this day possible. Our families are different, but every one of our families deserve our undivided support. Today is a day to give that undivided support. Thank you very much, and with that, my friends, I'll sign the bill.
I get phone calls every day from people across this country, and when I found out about the story of Charlene Strong, and GLAAD found out about the story of Charlene Strong, we immediately knew that this was a compelling story, and the moment we met her, it just confirmed it. We all understand that universal truth of wanting to be with your partner at the most crucial moments, and to see that inequality that she faced and how well she could speak about it and really just look you in the eye and say, what would you do? How would you handle that? I think that, we just saw the potential. GLAAD saw the potential in Charlene to really influence millions of people.
Charlene Strong, gay activist and currently working on the film For My Wife.
You're very influential people. You're in society. You're out there with everyone working in the business world. You have the capability of being that activist. Wouldn't it be great at the end of that wedding that you got to sign a piece of paper that really said, "This is my wife, this is my wife." 39 states still do not recognize any form of domestic partnership, gay marriage, anything.
Equality is not multiple choice. It is not up to someone else to decide that another person should be denied equality.
And what I do understand is love, and that love is amazing. And what I'm asking you tonight is I'm challenging you. I'm asking you to become an advocate for change.